Welcome to the Big Four Accounting Firms podcast, brought to you by big4accountingfirms.com and the Big Four Accounting Firms YouTube channel. Before we get started, just wanted to remind everybody to support us if you have a chance or if you can. Even $1 helps, and we have a link in the description to a website called Buy Me a Coffee. It's just a way to donate to us and support us. Again, any amount is helpful so that we can keep putting out content. And there's also other ways for you to support us in the show notes to this podcast or on YouTube in the description. In today's podcast, we're going to talk about E&Y and their graduates from their virtual Tech MBA. Now, as you might remember, in 2020, E&Y launched a Tech MBA with Hult International Business School, and they have announced that their first cohort of 8 graduates have completed the degree. And this is an MBA, and it's available to 300,000 people in more than 150 countries. And it's pretty interesting because most people, if you're going to be an accountant in the US, in a lot of countries, you already have to have a master's or a higher degree. But this is a virtual degree, and it's an MBA. And I think what they want to do is get people more tech-oriented. But I mean, it's still an MBA, so it's still going to be focused on business, but I think it's focused along the same lines as their E&Y badges, and it's going to cover a wide range of subject areas from artificial intelligence, robotic process automation, blockchain, diversity and inclusiveness, and sustainable business practices. Trent Henry, who is E&Y's global vice chair, said the following: "There's been a huge amount of interest in the E&Y Tech MBA by Hult since it was launched last year, and celebrating the first cohort of graduates is a fantastic milestone. It is a truly innovative program and the very first of its kind, an achievement that is all the more remarkable given that it was launched and has seen its first graduates in the midst of COVID-19 pandemic. Every one of these graduates has demonstrated a real hunger to build the future-focused skills they need to serve clients, thrive in today's workplace, and unlock their individual contribution to building a better working world." End quote. And that build a better working world is E&Y's motto. They talk about that all the time. And the graduates include client service professionals from all 4 lines of service: assurance, consulting, tax, and strategy and transactions. And I think a lot of these people that graduated with this, it's kind of confusing because it took them less than a year, I think, to get all the stuff. So these people must have been sitting in their cubes or at home. Well, I guess it's at home since nobody was really in the office. They probably didn't have much to do. And it's like the people that do all their trainings when they don't have anything to do, because the Big Four accounting firms, you have to stay utilized. And if you're not utilized and you're younger, then your supervisors tell you to do your trainings. So some people obviously did their trainings and more and just blew right through their MBA degree. So they did that very quickly. And I'm wondering if this also gives you your continuing education credits for your CPA license or your certification in other countries, because that would be really cool if as you're doing your continuing education, you can also get a degree. I'm sure there's going to be people in these accounting firms, as other firms build this stuff out, that they're going to have like an MBA in 10 different things. But it's really good to get it tech oriented if maybe you can get it in coding. PwC has something similar where you can get more knowledge in technology. You can learn a little bit of coding, but you have to get in a specialized area and you don't get a degree for it. But I think this will continue more and more as the Big Four accounting firms are getting more into the technology space, and they realize that they have to start building software. They can't just be consultants anymore. They have to build software. And if you look at a lot of the job openings for the Big Four accounting firms, they're all related to software and technology. It's obviously a ton of accounting, but seems like there's just as much technology and computer science type of openings now than ever. So that's just something to consider. E&Y is graduating their first MBA candidates. There will be a lot more to come in the future years, and it'll only be a matter of time before the other Big Four accounting firms follow suit and catch up to them. So that's one thing to consider. If you want to get further education in technology, but also be an accountant, then E&Y is probably a pretty good choice for you right now. You can get this MBA if you have downtime. I'm not sure how that's going to work with client work. It's going to be pretty hard to do it if you're busy. But if you're not busy, you could probably crank it out and then maybe use that to get another job. So that's just something to think about. So that's the podcast for today. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast to get future updates. Also, check out the description to this podcast on YouTube and the podcast show notes. There's a link to Buy Me a Coffee where you can support us financially. But if you can't do that, then subscribe to our YouTube channel, Big Four Accounting Firms, and like this video on our YouTube channel. Thanks for listening.